The first question I have is, how many people are using videos in your DMO right now or in your office? Okay, really, really good percentage. That's awesome. How many of you are doing that by either utilizing in-house work or outsourcing to like a full service, you know, fairly expensive, big cameras, big budget kind of videos? About half, okay. Are any of you guys shooting videos on your smartphones right now to use for work? Okay, decent amount, perfect. So yes, today's presentation is going to be all about things that you can do today to start shooting videos on your smartphone and use your smartphone to be able to create really great videos for your office. Like Michaela mentioned, I'm with Candidio on a very, very brief overview with what we do. We're a sponsor here today, so you can certainly drop by our booth and take a look, talk to Nathan, our video strategist. We are a platform that allows customers to come in and choose from different templates we have available. For example, if you wanted to shoot a video about a new restaurant that opened in town, you could use a restaurant template that we have. It'll let you know the different questions that you should ask somebody, you know, the chef, the owner of the restaurant, and then let you know some suggestions for B-roll shots to be able to fill in some of the gaps there. Then once you shoot those on your smartphone, on your tablet, anything like that, you can upload them directly to the site and we handle all the editing. So we've found that a lot of people have trouble with the editing portion of things. You know, anyone can shoot video now on a smartphone, but editing still takes time, money, effort, expertise. So we try and close that gap and help out with the editing portion of things. So the first tip I have is to get inspired. There are video ideas all around you. If you're walking around downtown, you're walking to lunch one day, you may have an idea for a video. You don't have time to shoot it right then, but pull out your phone and make a note of it. So you can use your phone to, you know, keep notes for yourself so that you're able to come back to those later when you have the time to fully flesh those ideas out. I use OneNote, which is Microsoft's kind of version of Evernote. But there's tons of different note apps out there that can help you keep kind of a running log of different ideas that you're going to want to try and do for videos. Number two, find your purpose. If you just go out and start shooting video without knowing why you're shooting it and what you're trying to get out of the video, it's not going to turn out very well. It's certainly easy to shoot videos now, but if you don't have a purpose and reasoning behind what you're doing, you're just not going to be able to use that video to its fullest potential. One thing that we like to ask people when they're creating a video is we like to have them fill out a quick form that says, after viewing this video, my audience will blank because I will show them and tell them blank. So we're trying to kind of have you understand and have us understand what is the action you want someone to take by viewing the video and why would they take that action. So in the restaurant example, you know, I want my audience to visit this restaurant because I will show them this awesome signature dish that they do better than anyone else in the city. So you've got a very good purpose and a good reason for why you're shooting that video. And here's an example.
My name is Michelle, and I do the content and social here at 12 Stars Media. I like to bake cupcakes and drink beer. On a normal day for me at 12 Stars, I guess it would be kind of scheduling tweets and stuff for the day, making sure the content goes out, making sure we're responding to people on social media, and that, you know, Facebook and Google Plus and LinkedIn and everything has content going out as well. My favorite thing about working at 12 Stars, I think it would just be the environment. Like, I feel like I can be creative and I can just hang out with people I work with, and it doesn't feel like super stressful or like I have to sit in my box and stay there and all of that. So I like the creative freedom, I would say.
So the purpose behind that video was for people to get to know the employees at our company. Like you saw Michelle there, our Director of Content and Community. How many of you out there, like her typical day sounds just like yours? Several people. So we wanted to create a series of videos just to kind of help people to understand who we are. We're not just a company or just a faceless, you know, organization. All of our employees are very cool. We really like them. I wanted to show people a little bit more about our company culture. Number three, scout your locations. Every video you shoot is going to be shot somewhere. So whether that's going to be at a restaurant, whether that is in a hotel lobby, whether that's going to be an outdoor video somewhere, before you actually go shoot it, go to a few locations and figure out where you want to do that shooting. A great tip too, while you're scouting locations, use your phone to take video and take pictures of the locations while you're out there. That helps you when you come back to your office and you start writing out what you want to do for your video, you're able to see what the lighting looks like. If you take a video of it, you're going to be able to hear potentially any ambient audio that's happening. If there's an air conditioner that's constantly running, is there loud music in the background? And that's going to help you to be able to account for those things when you actually go to shoot at that location. You'll know to ask the owners to turn the music down or to turn off the air conditioning for half an hour or to just bring a microphone with you to be able to isolate the speaker's voice and you're not then catching all the ambient noise that could make your video not quite as good as it could be. Number 4, assemble your crew. I have certainly shot videos on my own and it certainly can be done. But it's really helpful to have at least one other person there with you. A few things that other person can do is they can be taking still shots while you're shooting video to be able to have some extra B-roll as still images that you can overlay in your video. They can also help if you're interviewing someone, could just help the interviewer be a little more comfortable. Not everybody is very comfortable being interviewed on camera, and having someone else there to help, you can help it to sound more like a conversation instead of being accosted and have, staring directly into the lens of a video. Another great thing they can do is if you're standing and you're recording right here, you can have your interviewer off to the side so that the interviewee is looking off to the side of the camera. They're not staring directly at the lens. And that helps to kind of take a little bit of the pressure off the person as well. It doesn't feel like you're just being shot on camera. It feels like you're having that conversation. Number 5, listen intently. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about with scouting the locations. Make sure when you're shooting a video, you're listening to all the sounds around you. You want to make sure that there's not things that are going on in the background that are going to be hard to hear over. You're going to make sure that if you're in a noisy place, you have some kind of a microphone to help you to be able to pick up the interviewer's noise or their voice rather than exterior noises. Another great thing to do is once you've shot your video, watch it. Make sure that you got what you want, because it's a lot easier to have someone restate what they just said when you're still there filming them than to get back to your office, realize it's not good, and have to call them back up and schedule another time to interview them. To go along with that point, getting good audio is extremely, extremely important. Audio and lighting are probably the 2 most important parts about video, because if you have bad lighting, it's not going to look good, and if you have bad audio, I think people would rather watch a video with bad lighting than one with bad audio, because audio is just as important as how the video looks. So I've got a quick example here of Michelle. She's got a lavalier mic attached to her. In the first clip, the microphone is not turned on, so you hear a lot more of the noises around her. In the second clip, the microphone is turned on, and you can hear her much more clearly, just to show the difference between the two.
My name is Michelle, and I manage the social and content for 12 Stars Media.
So you probably also heard the lawnmower in the background. So we did a really bad job there. We didn't wait till the lawnmower was done. And I've been on one full service shoot with our team before, and there were 3 or 4 different locations we were shooting around Indianapolis. And I promise, at every single location, someone was mowing their yard. So we would be filming, and then we'd have to say, hey, can you pause for a second? Stop, let the mower go by, and then keep going. Because it's really hard to isolate noises like that and take those out in post-production. So you were able to hear the difference between no microphone and microphone, and what we should have done in this case was actually waited until that lawnmower was done or moved to a different location where that wasn't going to be an issue. Oh, actually, one thing I forgot. So one thing we use is this Rode Smart Lav microphone. It plugs directly into your smartphone. And does a fantastic job of isolating your speaker's voice so that you're not getting a lot of the external sounds, and that's what Michelle was wearing in that one. So I'll pass this around if you guys want to take a look at it. It's between $50 and $80 on Amazon, very affordable, yeah, we just really highly recommend it. Fantastic microphone, and it works great. The next thing that we recommend is to stabilize your video. If you're shooting with a smartphone, chances are you're going to be holding your phone. Especially though, if you're going to be interviewing someone, rather than having your phone bounce around because it's hard to hold it still for 2 or 3 minutes at a time, invest in an inexpensive but a good tripod. You can do that like the one we have right here, which is more traditional tripod. I also recommend this Joby tripod right here that is small enough to fold up and fit in my pocket. And it's a smartphone tripod. You just clip your phone right in there. You can set this on anything. It'll hold it still. And you can even screw this bottom part off, and it becomes a smartphone mount for a traditional tripod. So I'll pass this one around as well if you guys want to take a look at that. Another thing you can think about is there are tons of different DIY accessories. You don't have to spend even just 15 or 20 bucks on a tripod. We found this little, you can take a cup, cut a couple slits in it, set it down, you've got an automatic tripod for 20 cents. Just very, very simple ways that you can do simple things to kind of up the impact of your video. Another thing you can do is you can take furniture movers, the things you'd put under really heavy furniture. You can put them underneath a tripod, and then it smoothly moves on the ground like a dolly would or a slider. So you can get that really nice sliding effect in a video without having it stutter. And then I have a quick video about another thing that's called a string tripod. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to create a string tripod. You have about 10 feet of string laying around, and about 3 minutes, you can create a great tripod that's going to make your shots go from wobbly to nice and smooth. So all you need is about 10 feet of string. You can see I've got some right here. Tie a slip knot in the front here, and then position it right on top of your smartphone. Nice and simple, tie it in there. You then position the other end of this under your foot, and you then have an automatic tripod that's been created. Very simple, very easily. The tension on this string will help keep your videos nice and still. So here's a couple examples of trying a panning shot left to right without the tripod and then with the string tripod. So of course if you use a traditional tripod, it's going to be a little bit more stable, but this helped a lot. And another DIY tip, if you are filming and you don't have any kind of a tripod with you, if you're trying to stabilize things, you can keep your arms close to your body and hold your phone like this, and that's going to help you to stabilize as you're shooting. When we hold our arms out, they'll tend to get tired. They're not as comfortable. So holding them close to your body helps you to keep things a little bit more stable as well. Smartphone lens kit. These range from pretty expensive to very inexpensive, and the quality ranges on these as well. Some of the ones that you pick up may not be fantastic, but by adding a little bit of different lenses to your smartphone, you can get a little bit of different angle to your videos. A couple of the ones that you can get is you can get a wide angle. So you may not realize it, but if I took this shot without the wide angle lens, it would have cropped kind of in on those flowers. So you get a little bit of a wider angle on that. A lot of them come with a fisheye lens as well. That gives you a little bit more of that bubble kind of look to it. And then my favorite is the macro. Now in a lot of these macro ones, you have to be extremely close. So there may not be a whole lot of really practical purposes to it, but in that restaurant example, if you're trying to get hamburgers on the grill or something like that, you may be able to get close enough to get a really cool shot there that would just add a little bit of extra interest to your video. Make space for video. This is an issue we have seen people run into recently. We've hosted some crash courses where we will kind of teach people about smartphone video tips. Then we send them out to actually utilize those tips and film things in the area that we're at. And we had several people come up to us and say, oh, I don't have enough room to record. I didn't clear out my space. So before you go film, make sure that you have cleared out your phone. Delete apps if you have to, delete or remove photos or videos so that you have plenty of space available to shoot what you're trying to shoot on your smartphone. There are several Android and iOS apps. The iOS one, let's see, it's called Flick, F-L-I-C, and the Android one is called SlidePick, P-I-C. And those will give you kind of like a Tinder-like interface where you swipe left or you swipe right to delete it or keep it. So you can quickly go through your videos and photos and get rid of what you don't need and keep what you still want. Another thing that I personally recommend is using some kind of photo backup system. You could use iPhoto if you have an iPhone. I think I personally use Google Photos and OneDrive because they both automatically back up any photos, any videos I take, and so I know I can delete it on my phone and never have to worry about losing that memory. So using some kind of a photo backup app is going to be really helpful. It's going to make sure that you can clear those things out at a moment's notice and not have to worry about deleting something you wanted to keep. Number 11, bring extra juice. There's not much that kills a smartphone battery faster than shooting video and taking photos with it. So if you have the ability to bring an extra battery, a swappable battery for your phone, make sure you have that, it's charged up. If not, invest in a battery charger so that you're able to make sure that you at least have a couple of battery charge cycles on your phone. This one is very similar to running out of space to record. If you run out of juice and you can't actually shoot any more video, you're kind of out of luck. So it's really important to make sure that you've got that. Number 12, get good lighting. Does anybody know what the three-point lighting technique is? Yes. Can you tell me?
Usually you have your main light, and you have a light to offset that, and then you have the backlight.
That's right. Here, I have a little gift for you. Yeah, so what he mentioned was like a three-point lighting technique. You can kind of see it up here. You'll have 3 lights. You'll have your key light is going to be your main light that is shining on your subject. You're then going to have a fill light kind of off to the other side that is a little bit dimmer, and what it does is it makes sure that there aren't any really harsh shadows from that bright light that's shining on you. And then your backlight, depending on the video you're shooting, it could either highlight what is in the background, if that's what you're looking for, or you could shoot it back onto the interviewee themselves to kind of highlight them. So you have a couple different options. That is more of a traditional video filming technique. You certainly don't need to utilize 3 multiple different light sources if you're shooting on a smartphone. But the way to think about it is, I have a big mirror or a big window right here behind me. So if this was open, I would never want to be standing right in front of the mirror and shooting right at me, because I'm just going to be a dark silhouette and everything behind me is going to be really bright. So instead, if you're shooting in a place you're looking to use natural light, think about filming like this. So the natural light is coming in from the window, it's coming at me right here, the filmer would stand right about here and get me so that there's nice light, natural light coming in to me right now. So like I mentioned earlier, between audio and lighting, those are the 2 things that you're really going to want to look for when you're trying to shoot videos. 13, shoot horizontally. I know that Snapchat is vertical, and I actually even saw Vox the other day posted a video on Facebook. It was something about football, but it was a vertical video, which worked great on my smartphone. I didn't have to turn it at all. But still, 99% of the places that people are going to watch your videos are on a horizontal screen. Our TVs are horizontal, our smartphones can be horizontal, tablets, computer screens, all these things are horizontal. So it's really, really difficult to take vertical video and make it fit into a widescreen format. Now our team has found some really cool and creative ways to kind of take that and kind of make that fit, but it's a lot harder to edit that after the fact if you don't have that standard horizontal video. So unless there's a strong reason, if you're shooting an ad for Snapchat or something, strong reason for you to be doing vertical video, make sure you're shooting it horizontally, because that cannot be edited after the fact. Number 14, get moving. One thing our CEO always likes to say is that if you're shooting a video and your subject or you are not moving, you're just taking a crappy picture. It's just a stuttery picture. Because if all I'm doing is taking a video of these water bottles, it's not that interesting. So one thing we did in order to we shot a quick video of Michelle, I think, sitting at her desk typing, and the camera itself, we had it moving. So even though she's doing something that's not that interesting, just panning the camera slightly adds a little more interest to that video, and here's a quick clip of it. So just even that little tiny movement, something is happening in that video. It's not just a video of someone sitting there typing on a computer. So as you're shooting things, think about making sure that your subject is moving or that you're slightly moving in B-roll usually, not necessarily in an interview shot, just to get a little bit more interest to your videos. All right, 15. Does anyone know what the rule of thirds is? Yes? Can you tell me?
Yeah, keep your subject on the center into the quadrants on the outside, so make sure the eyes are above the line or to the right or left, but not center in the photograph.
Yep, that's right. Here you go. Can I toss?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the rule of thirds, we have it up there, but this is a video here, a picture of Nathan. If you divide your camera into 9 quadrants, basically, and almost every smartphone has the ability to overlay this as you're taking videos or photos. Not every video has to be shot, so you're using this rule of thirds, and there are some interview formats that work very well just pointing straight on. But a lot of them work really well by having your subject slightly aligned off-center. And also, as you can see here, Nathan is looking to the long side of the video and not the short side. Make sure that if you're setting up your interview in this way, where you're using the rule of thirds, you have someone slightly to the side, make sure that the interviewer is to the long side of your camera. Because if Nathan was staring to this side, this whole side would just be a waste. Like it just wouldn't be a purpose for it. So what you're doing is you're drawing the viewer's eye kind of across the video by using the rule of thirds. And this is a good setup not only for interviews, but for any other B-roll shots you're taking or any still shots you take as well. Lock your exposure. So this kind of goes into the lighting that I was talking about. If you've ever taken a video, like a panning shot or something on a smartphone, and you go from an area that's really dark to an area that's really light, you'll notice your smartphone screen kind of getting brighter or darker, and that's your phone kind of trying to account automatically for the lighting and adjust it as needed. If you're going to be standing still in an area and filming somebody, you don't want that adjustment happening all the time. So on an iPhone and on some Android phones and some Android apps, you can just tap and hold on your subject and it'll lock that exposure and lock the focus. So that if you're standing right there, I know that the lighting is always going to be good on the person that I'm trying to film. Shoot interviews first. Does anyone have an idea of why you should shoot interviews first when you're shooting your video? Good.
Because if they say something in their interview that leads to what B-roll you should get.
Perfect. Yes. You can present now. Yeah, so what she said was if you shoot your interviews first, you can listen to what the person talked about and what they said, and then you can go back after the fact and shoot B-roll of those things they talked about. So if you're shooting your restaurant example and the chef talks about this fantastic burger that they make, after he talks about that, you say, hey, you know what? I want to get a shot of someone making that burger. So you then have the ability to overlay some nice B-roll on top of what the person was talking about. And before I go any further, does everyone know what B-roll means? Okay. So, go ahead. Okay. So your A-roll is going to be your interview. The A-roll, that's basically your story. That is telling what kind of story you're telling. The B-roll is everything else. So the B-roll is going to be the short clips that you take afterwards, the shot of the outside of the building, a still image of the burger being fried, something like that you can use for a couple different purposes. One, because nobody wants to stare at a person talking for a couple minutes. Think of this presentation as my B-roll. You don't want to look at me talking for 40 minutes, but that's why I have this here, because you've got something else to look at, something prettier, something interesting up there to take a look at. The other thing B-roll can do is it'll help you if your subject is stuttering, if they say if they have any other kind of like a lip smack, sometimes that happens. You can use B-roll so that when you're cutting in post-production, you don't have these really awkward jump cuts. You get to have them go. If they take a long pause, you just cut that off and you put B-roll over top of it, and no one will ever know that video was clipped a little bit. So craft your framing. This is really thinking about the way you're shooting. This is a little more of like a film technique, making sure that you're not shooting all your shots from the same place. Especially when you're taking shots of like kids or animals. A really nice thing to kind of get down on their level. So rather than all of your shots of kids looking down at them, kind of get down on their level. Similarly, if you are in a place where you can get up high, kind of step up onto something and get a kind of a high angle shot, it's going to give you a little bit of a different angle to use for your B-roll. 3 shots, like when we tell someone that you can make a video with 4 shots very easily. You can have an interview, have a wide shot, a medium shot, and a tight shot. That took me, 25 extra seconds to take each of those different shots there, but rather than having the one shot of me just standing there looking at this fountain, I'm able to tell a little bit of a different story each time by getting closer to it. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but there was also some movement in that. Since that was a very still fountain right there, not a whole lot of movement happening, I made sure to kind of have a little bit of movement on my camera to add a little bit more of that interest there. So number 19, Befriend B-Roll. I kind of already mentioned this, but B-Roll is excellent. You're going to love being able to have B-Roll to be able to put over top of your video. One kind of rule of thumb that we follow is for every minute that you want your video to be. So example, if you want your video to be 2 minutes long, you want to shoot 2 to 3 times that much B-roll. So for a 2-minute video, you need to shoot about 4 to 6 minutes of B-roll. And what that does is that gives the editors plenty of place to look. That gives them plenty of stuff to choose from. The other thing to think about is you want to make sure your B-roll clips aren't like 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds long, because that's not usually quite enough time to choose from as you're shooting, as the editing process is happening. So try and get a 10 or a 15-second clip at least on your B-roll shots. So that way, if the camera's kind of moving a little bit during one of your pans, they can choose a different pan to use, or they can clip that certain section of it. But B-roll is really, really important, and this next video clip is going to show you why it's so important. We're going to have the first clip of the interviewer talking for a few seconds. The second clip is the exact same interview, but it has B-roll laid over top of it.
When you tell people you're a farmer, the hidden message is you're a part-time electrician, mechanic, harvester. It encompasses a lot of things, but ultimately the goal of doing all those things is to grow really healthy, beautiful, nourishing food for our local community. When you tell people you're a farmer, the hidden message is you're a part-time electrician, mechanic, harvester. It encompasses a lot of things, but ultimately the goal of doing all those things is to grow really healthy, beautiful, nourishing food for our local community.
So how many people liked the first video better? That's what I thought. So I don't know if you noticed it or not, but she, at the very beginning of the first one, she kind of paused, she said and then her lips smacked. There was that kind of noise. And so by being able to have that B-roll, we were able to clip that out, and you didn't even notice it in the second one. You didn't know that it was clipped out, but we're able to make it sound a lot more natural. Number 20 is shoot back and forth. So this applies, especially if you're taking panning shots, or if you're doing tilt shots, looking at maybe the exterior of a building or something. Instead of just shooting one way and then turning your camera off, shoot both ways. Because what that does is that's going to give the editors the ability to pick and choose from either your left to right motion or your right to left motion or up and down, down and up. It also accounts for if your camera stuttered a little bit on one of those movements, you've got another one to choose from. It also just gives you a little more B-roll to use. And it's a very simple way to get a little bit of extra B-roll. 21, this usually says no zoom ever. What I'm saying now is no zoom without 4K. Now that the iPhone 6s is out and a couple of Android phones shoot in 4K, it's possible to do that now. We do not see much 4K video at all, and I really don't recommend you shoot in it. It's just not needed right now. There aren't enough people who can even view 4K video. One benefit, though, is that if you are shooting an interview and you wanted to have 2 different angles, because if in this interview you're not planning to shoot as much B-roll and you want to have some places where you can kind of have like a wider shot and a closer shot, if you shoot it in 4K and you have your interview still, there are enough pixels in there that we can crop in so that you can have what looks like a couple different angles but from one shot, because you can zoom in a little bit after the fact with 4K. Yes? 4K. 4K is like double HD. It's like the super HD, basically. So it is, I think, 4 times the pixels of a standard HD screen. Not widely prevalent yet. Like I said, a few smartphones are shooting it, but there just aren't a whole lot of devices that can actually display things in 4K quite yet. And if you're shooting in 1080 or 720, either of those are fine, but certainly don't ever zoom. If you need to get closer to your subject, actually get closer to your subject. Because the zooming on those, there's not actually optical zoom, it's all digital, so you're just distorting and you're making, you're zooming in on pixels that make it look a lot grainier than it should be. Number 22, consider using like a time lapse, like Hyperlapse, or your slow-mo functions on your phone, or downloading apps that'll do those for you. The Instagram Hyperlapse app is great for iOS, and the Microsoft Hyperlapse app is really great for Android. So you have a couple of options there. Does anyone not know what Hyperlapse means, or time lapse? Okay, perfect. So that just gives you that really like fast motion look at what's happening. And then slow-mo is obviously the other angle of things. Another tip is if you can shoot your video in 60 frames a second, like a standard video is 30 frames a second, and that's what it'll shoot in, that's what you're used to seeing it in. If you have the ability to shoot it in 60, you can slow that down by half, and then you still have the same fluidity that you would with a 30 frames a second, because you're taking those 60 and cutting them in half. Typically, if you shoot normal video and you try and slow it down without using a slow-mo app or specifically a slow-mo like software, it's going to be a lot jumpier. So that's another option that you could have too. Number 23, take a break. Shooting a video is fun, but it's a lot of work. And there's a lot of, it's worth just taking a couple of minutes. You know, people can get frustrated, you can get hot, you could just get to a point where, especially with an interviewer, you know, you may have had them kind of rephrase things a few times and they're just getting flustered. Better to just take 5 minutes, let everyone calm down, get a glass of water, take a walk, and then come back into it. There's no reason to kind of push through to get something done, because a lot of times if you're shooting when you're frustrated, when you're hungry, when you're tired, you're not going to come back with the best video you can, and you're going to then have to reschedule that shoot for later on down the road. Number 24, check the gate. Does anybody know what check the gate means? All right. So check the gate is a term from traditional like movies in filming. And what they would do is, you know, you'd have your scene that you're going to shoot, and the producer would, you know, you'd just go through and let's just say all the actors, everyone nailed it. It was a perfect shot. Excellent. We're good to go. Well, the producer then would say, well, let's check the gate. We want to make sure that there was no like fuzz on the screen, make sure that there was nothing in the camera that would have messed up that great take. Because even though you may have checked beforehand, you got the great take, and you think you're good to go, if they just moved on and kept on going, they'd have to come back and reshoot it potentially. So in the era of smartphones, what this really means is watch your video after you've shot it. So when you've taken your interview, when you've shot your B-roll, just take a look at it. Make sure that what you thought you were capturing is actually what you captured. I'm a little embarrassed to say there are a few times where I thought I hit the record button and I didn't. So, you know, make sure you're able to review that and that you've got exactly what you wanted to get out of there. 25 is edit and share. The first 24 points, of course, were about how to shoot your video, but this one is probably the most important part. You know, the easiest way to waste money on a video is have it shot and then just have it sit there. Or just to upload it to YouTube and expect that people are going to view it. I'm sure everyone in this room knows that how important it is to share what we've done, to get it out there, you know, share it through social media, share it through email, share it internally with the rest of your staff so that they can share it as well. Getting the word out about what you've done is going to be the way that your video is going to have the most impact. And so that's all I have for today.